What does someone terrible with money and the government have in common? They're both terrible with money. A lot of us here grew up poor, and one thing I've noticed in me and my mates is that we're all really financially irresponsible. Like, we don't really understand money and how it works or should be used. So I thought it would be a good idea to go through this article and see what kind of parallels we can draw between this mum's financial irresponsibility and ultimately ourselves. Mum, given $10,800 in taxpayer funds for poor families, spent most of it on luxury Miami trip. I wanted to blow it. A mum of 3 given nearly $11,000 in a taxpayer-funded program for impoverished families. Do you know why they keep saying taxpayer-funded? It's because they're trying to rile you up. I mean, obviously the money came from the taxpayer if it's being dished out by the government. Anyone reading this article would know that. Barry? What? Fucking hell, Barry. Did you know all that money the government's been dishing out is the tax money we pay him every month? You what? Oh no, I'm flabbergasted too. A mum of 3 given nearly $11,000 in a taxpayer-funded program for impoverished families has admitted blowing most of it on a luxurious 5-day trip to Miami, even getting a $180 glow-up to not look like a working mum while there. Blew most of it on a holiday to Miami and a $180 glow-up. I can tell most of us here are fuming already. Right. I want to talk directly to the people who sub to our channel after sharing all our stories about growing up in poverty. To all who had mayonnaise sandwiches for dinner. To everyone who didn't have functioning shoes. To those who woke to empty fridges every morning. What do you think your folks would have spent that 10 grand on? You know, in a way, I don't think you'd find my view on this surprising. Her blowing all this money on a holiday doesn't shock me in the slightest. She's in poverty for a reason. Now, granted, that reason might not be as simple as financial irresponsibility. She might be disabled, she might be sick, or even a misfit. Not everyone's wired for the system we've built, especially some of the older lot. And her spending all that money on a glow-up, while being ridiculous, is kind of expected. What do you reckon? Don't you think? Canathea Miller, 27, was one of 132 mothers in Washington, D.C. accepted last year into the Strong Families, Strong Future pilot program designed to help those living around the poverty line, according to the Washington Post. I'll tell you what I do find surprising. This program is actually a decent idea. It's almost impossible to make any serious money without a bit of cash to give you a start. She chose to take a no-strings-attached $10,800 lump sum rather than $900 monthly payments, and immediately spent more than $6,000 on the trip for her, her 3 sons, and their father. I wanted to blow it. I wanted to have fun, she told the DC paper. Now, this is where that program falls apart. You don't give financially illiterate people huge sums of money all in one go and expect them to spend it wisely. They should have had a financial advisor supervise her spending, as a safeguard, if anything, so she doesn't spend it on dumb shit like, I don't know, a fucking trip to Miami. You got kids, man. You blew your only chance to give them a head start in life to get your fucking nails done. And look at you, laughing it up over a game of fucking Uno. Uno! You mad? Think about what a family in the middle of nowhere with no electricity, no running water, nothing could have done with the 180 quid you spent on that shitty glow up. I fucking hate people who spend their money on pointless shit. Consumables. 180 quid, man. Just piss down the toilet over a game of shitting Uno. My kids got to experience something I never would have been able to do if I didn't have that money. For the trips, Miller bought 15 new outfits for her children, 1 for each child for each day of the vacation, proudly telling the DC paper every outfit they wore was new. What's wrong with secondhand clothes? Go on eBay, you'll find a ton of good shit there. She also spent $180 getting her hair and nails done, excitedly recalling how good she looked for the trip. Oh good, I'm glad you temporarily looked great. I didn't have to look like a working, stressed mum, she said of the pricey glow-up. Yeah, that's because you are a working, stressed mum. Why not try to cure the cause instead of plastering over it like some kind of glammed-up LARPer, you queef? Then in Miami, Miller spent much of her new cash on steak dinners. Steak dinners. New gadgets and toys for the children, and a boat tour past some of the city's most expensive mansions. Paying money to look at someone's house. God, that's absolute madness. You don't have money to spend on looking at someone's house. She justified her spending by saying she hoped to inspire her children and teach them that if they work hard enough, they may one day be able to afford one of the mansions. Yeah, great example you're setting there, eh? Miller then ate up the remainder of the funds on bills and a used car, she said. That's what you should have done in the first place. She claimed that she needed the money because her financial situation worsened after she had her third son in the summer of 2022. Miller paused her education to receive a degree in social work to focus on the growing family and was living in a subsidized 2-bedroom apartment at the time. She was also receiving funds from the Temporary Assistance to Needy Families Fund, which helped her cover her $120 a month rent. God, can you imagine your rent being $120 a month? I literally spend 10 times that for a tiny shoebox flat in London. And that's a bargain. Let's see what we can get for 10,800 bananas, shall we? Let's hop over to Excel. A car for work, that's $3,000 roughly. I looked up some used cars in America and they sort of range from about $2,000 to like $4,000, just for like decently priced cars. $3,000, a sensible average, I think. 12 months worth of petrol for that car, so you don't have to worry about getting to work. 1 month of nanny care. So, something might happen during that year. It's good to have about a month's worth of nanny care sort of banked, right? That's $2,100. 12 months of rent at $120 a month, $1,440. I mean, I don't even get me started there. A laptop, £500. A laptop for a kid, another $500. This is quite important. A laptop can lead to another job, to a better job, skill acquisition, etc. And then an iPad, which, hear me out on this, right? It does make sense. The reason why I say iPad is because I work in games and her kids might download some apps that inspires them to learn about how they're made, which also contextualizes the stuff they learn in school. Suddenly, trigonometry has a practical use that kids can play around with and understand. On a side note, actually, if you're a parent and want to get your kid into game development, drop me a message and I'll try and point you in the right direction. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking to be paid or anything like that. I was a poor kid once, and if it wasn't for getting a job in games, I'd still be poor. So even if you're an adult and you're trying to skill up and get a job in games, just give me a shout, man. I want to help. So yeah, that all comes up to $9,840 with $960 to spare. All right, but still, Miller said she was struggling to make her food stamps last. Groceries last us the first 3 weeks of the month. Then it's trying to figure out the last week of my benefits, she explained. It lasts, but it's close. Now she's opened a savings account in which she hopes to keep $50. Jesus. And insisted the government-funded program taught her how to save money for the future. Please. Oh my God. Some people, man, some people. She could have had $960 to put in that account. Right. She's set to begin a new remote job that pays $30 an hour. That's pretty good. An opportunity she credits with the confidence she gained in the program. Government programs aren't bad, man. A lot of communities in my area don't know the financial gain of credit or saving for your kids. That's why we're broke. That's why we don't have nothing to pass. That's such an English West Country way to say that. That's why we don't have nothing. That's why we don't have nothing to pass down or no house to give down, Miller explained. You've got nothing to pass down because you blow it all on pointless consumables, you numpty. I'm trying to get to the level where I'm passing something down that really matters, so I can be set and my kids can be set. And they don't need to push so hard like I'm doing now. Oh yeah, eating steak dinners and playing fucking Uno with your shitty nails. It's like that episode of The Simpsons when Marge gets that pink suit. The Post has reached out to Martha's Table, the DC-based organisation that administers the program, for comment. Okay, I've ragged on this mum a fair bit and I can't really comment because my spending habits are no better. I spend about 30 to 50 quid on takeaway every weekend, and every other weekend about 50 quid going out with mates. I know that doesn't sound like much, but with rent and bills, it all adds up. I also live alone. So why don't I flat share? Well, it might sound silly, but I really struggle with noise and smells that I can't control. So living with other people is kind of out of the question. But again, maybe I don't have a choice and should just man up and flat share, suffer today for the benefit of tomorrow and all that. Sometimes I actually dream about taking all my savings and living the rest of my days out in Thailand until I've got nothing left and then just ending it. I know, a little dark, but the state of the economy is just making life bleaker and bleaker. for everyone. And I want to say this Miami mum and I share that in common, but me going to Thailand and not coming back is completely different to her blowing her money on a glamorous holiday for some short-term fun. Like, I earn an okay living, but that doesn't mean everything's hunky-dory. The relationship I have with my parents is pretty much non-existent, and I feel the shame every day of not being able to provide for them and essentially be their retirement fund. So I'd rather just not show my face and spare everyone the embarrassment. Fucking hell, that was a digression and a half. And on that cheery note, I don't read articles on this channel, but I thought I'd do this one because there's so much beyond the whole, look at what she's spending taxpayer money on. Nah. And I don't blame her for what she did. She's a victim to her own brain and environment. And it's safe to say she didn't have, dare I say, a strong father figure to show her how to deal with money. All right. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know and I'll get on it. And I'll try to keep the digressions to a minimum. Also, where would you rather chat, on here or on something like Instagram? Anyway, take care of yourselves and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. All right, let's get this show on the road. There's so much mess on my desk right now. I'm so glad you can't see it. I'm just going to move more things out of the way, including this guy. So I'm not Tim Pooling you guys, right? There's nothing wrong with Tim Pool. Don't be mean. What does someone terrible with money